Three. Tonight on Talking Wax, William Lee Golden of the Oak Ridge Boys is in the house talking about his life, his new book, and much, much more, and new vinyl. That's all going to happen now on The Wax. So get ready, kids. Wax. Welcome, everybody. It is Saturday, and tonight we have a special show from the Oak Ridge Boys. William Lee Golden is right here in the house, and he's going to be sharing his story with you. He has a new book out. It's Behind the Beard, with over 200 photos in his new book, which if you're looking to buy that book, it's right below in our description. You could click on that link and check it out. And also the Oak Ridge Boys, they have a new record out. All links will be in there. We're going to talk vinyl. We're going to talk about the autobiography. We're going to talk about it all. But you know what? Enough chit chat. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. William Lee Golden right here. When you talk about being on tour as a musician, you get locked into that. It's like a jail. You stay in your room. You don't want to go nowhere. You do gig. You don't see anything. Explore.
Right. Sometimes you get, if you've one town today, another town tomorrow, you go to bed sometimes late, maybe sleep late, get up. But it's routines you get into, and every day is a new town, a new day, and so you really have to kind of keep your focus. You can't get distracted because there's a lot of places you'd like to go, and some places you'd like to stay for a few days, but you got to keep moving. Things to do tomorrow, and so it's if you're on vacation, it's one thing, but it's when you're not, it's you got to keep moving. If you're just mixing it in with your work day, well, the fun times when we get to sing at night, but it's filling up those hours during the day before you get to sing. It's always kind of have a photograph to show where you've been, and to share it with my sons, my family, my wife, show her where it is. So that's kind of how I got into it. And mainly I got into it trying to get great landscape photographs to paint. And that's how I upgraded to be able to be a better painter.
Yeah.
Then as we get older and get busier, it seems like you don't find time for it like you did. I've been involved with 5 major projects this year. And so it's hard to go back and put time and effort and the attention to some of them that it might need. I've done 5 major deals. This book is one of them. Behind the Beard. It's a book that Scott England helped me put together. He's a great writer, and he would ask the questions and I would talk and answer what he's talking about. And it's about my life story from my childhood, my family, where I come from, being born in South Alabama on a cotton and peanut farm, growing up on a farm and playing music as a little kid, when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, playing music, guitar. My sister played mandolin, and we'd play and sing, and that's how it all started for me. So
that was it, huh? I mean, you first of all, going back, starting this book, there's so much. You have so many stories. There's different. If you were going to do a mini series, it'd be a long one. It'd be like there's so many different eras of you, and then starting out in music, you started as gospel, and then years later, it turned into a hit. You had to get a breakaway for the mainstream in the 70s, or you know. But as a kid, what were you listening to as music?
Well, your kids listen to whatever it is, their families, their mother and dad's got on the radio. But for us, it was Saturday night, Grand Ole Opry. And as little kids, we're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, I was learning songs. We learned as little kids, we were taught gospel songs. And it was the old country singers, it's gospel songs. Hank Williams wrote "I Saw the Light." We'd sing that. We'd sing Roy Acuff's "The Great Speckled Bird." We'd sing Kitty Wells' "Matching Over the Hilltop," and Louvin brothers, they'd sing a lot of songs, and my sister and I, her playing mandolin, me and playing rhythm guitar, and us singing duets. We sing a lot of Louvin brothers songs too.
Wow.
So it was gospel music that
Yeah.
we sang it for the kids. And Granddaddy Golden had a radio show. He was a fiddle player, but and later in life, you know, he wasn't playing the fiddle on there, but he had a radio show, and we'd get to go once so we could go sing a song on Granddaddy's radio show, and from there we'd sing in churches around. So that's kind of how it all started. Then in high school, you know, I was playing, singing in the assembly programs. My sister and I would, and then, you know, I got to where Elvis, you know, rock and roll hit. I was playing, singing Elvis songs. But then at that time also I got to singing in the FFA quartet, which is the Future Farmers of America. Each chapter would have, they would encourage their kids that are going to be farmers. If you played music or sang, they gave them opportunities to either have a FFA band or FFA quartet. And we compete with other schools that had bands and quartets. And so we won the South Alabama district of the best quartets. And they gave me that plaque recently of that we won when I was in the 11th grade. So
Wow.
that's where it started with me. And that was the first quartets that I sang was FFA. Then I kept singing out of school got my own little groups together, and that's when I met the Oak Ridge Boys and got to know them, singing on shows with them, and then.
So that was like around 62. Was it around was it when you met?
Yeah, they had two. Yes, it was 62. They did two albums that I was turned on to. It was Warner Brothers albums that they had called Oak Ridge Boys Sounds of Nashville was my favorite. Then they had one called Folk Minded Spirituals for spiritual minded folks. And that was during the folk era, you remember, or you may not remember, but it was, you're a young guy, but it was during the folk era back then when, but that was the Oak Ridge Boys album, Folk Minded Spiritual. But those were the albums that turned me on.
Yeah.
Then in 65, I had gone up a couple of years later, and we'd worked together 2 or 3 times. And I talked to him. I said, if you ever in a market for a baritone singer, I'd like a shot at it. So they said, well, come on. I drove to Nashville, tried out. They said, hey, you got the job if you want it.
Wow.
Great. When do I start?
Yeah.
This week. Well, I need to run back to Bruton for a couple of days. So I drove back to Bruton, went to the paper mills that I was working at, turned in my resignation. I told them I'd like to give them a 2-week notice, and that I'd also like to take my 2-week vacation since it's early in the year, that I had to go sing. And so that was 1965 in January. And I've been singing ever since.
65. Wow.
Yeah, there was a period of time there that the Oak Ridge Boys, we had a little disagreements, and so my partners voted me out in 1987, and all that stuff's in the book.
It's in the book. Yeah, you have a lot of stories in that book. There's and you even have your first wife who passed away, and she gave her a chapter to talk about that, and that's a heavy thing because this book, I know you're doing interviews and everybody talks about this and that, but you're reliving your life. Whether we, as men, sometimes it takes us a long time to grow up, especially when you're in the rock and roll world, and you learn, but you learn. But I'm
still growing.
Yeah, me too. I'm 54. I'll be 54. I don't even know I can't live without my wife. I need her. That's turning on the internet. I'm like, but as we're still growing, when you had to relive your life writing this book, what did you, and you were always learning. Was it great therapy for you? It's like, wow, I'm understanding William better now after working.
Well, it's you reach a point in life. It's it was just the beginning of the pandemic and all when Scott reached out again. He had asked me 6 or 7, 8 times maybe about wanting to write a book. I said, man, nobody want to buy a book that I wrote. So he said, you've got a story to tell, and I'd like to be the guy to help you tell it. So then I got to thinking, okay. So it was back in a little over a year ago, about a year and a month ago, was the first time that I talked with him. I said, okay, come on. I was down at the farm
Mhm.
for about a week, seeing that at the old home place, staying at the home place down there where I grew up. Came down, met my sister, and talked with her. She lived across the street and across the road, and he saw the spots that I was born and raised there on the farm, and so he went back to get where I started, and that's where the book starts, where I began, and then we got together a lot of times over the years and sit and talk for a couple of hours. He'd come back next day or the next week with more questions, and so he gets into it. There's pictures with me with my different wives. I've been married 4 times, and uh, I was unfaithful with my first two, and so a lot of those stories are in there. And I have to be man enough to admit my mistakes, and thank God I have Simone in my life. It was Simone that talked me into. I remember she used to ask me, about my first wife. She said, "Did you ever apologize to Progene for being unfaithful to her when she didn't do anything to deserve that?" I said, "No, I never did." She said, "Well, don't you think it's about time?" And so I said, "Well, maybe so." Well, then she would hit me up later, 6 months later. "Well, did you ever apologize?" I said, "No, I haven't." She said, "Well, don't you think it's time? How much longer do you think you got to wait?" And I said, "Well, I'll try to do that." Well, it was on a Thanksgiving that his mother invited us over to his home, my son. I didn't tell anybody what I was going to do, but I decided that after dinner, after lunch that day, that I kind of thought about it all morning. And I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and get it off my shoulders and apologize to Frogene. And I did. It was a very emotional thing when I did it, and for me and for everybody else, my sons and their mother, and so it was emotional. And but I have to thank Simone for holding my feet to the fire to step up and apologize. And I'm thankful that it happened before Frogene got sick, and because it was before a year later, she found out she had pancreatic cancer, and
Wow.
she suffered with that for almost a year. But I was so thankful that I had done that before she did get sick. But then she was able to talk to Scott, and she shared some stories about me being unfaithful, and my girlfriend and her friend, uh, and them getting together, and uh, my girlfriend in the closet, and them hiding in there when I come home, and then
Yeah.
them both confronting me. That's all in the book, but it's happened, And
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
wife she told him that before she passed away. He talked to her 2 or 3 times, and but Simone helped me to settle all of that before those times, and so all the things that I've been involved with my family, with my sons, and all these music projects. I've recorded 44 songs in the past year, besides having a new book the new album with the Oak Ridge Boys, Front Porch Singing.
In June,
Plus,
right? That just came out.
yeah,
That
it
just
just
came out.
came out
Yeah,
last Saturday.
that's right.
And then I've cut 32 songs with my sons, the Goldens. And we did a whole gospel album, taking them back to my childhood, these old songs that I played and sang as a kid. And we did a 12 songs, an old gospel album. Then we kept recording. Then I took them back to the old country songs that influenced me. It's my roots. And I recorded songs like Johnny Cash, I Still Miss Someone, uh, Four Walls, an old Farron Young song. And I sang Welcome to My World.
Welcome to My World. Great song.
Yeah, it's an old Jim Reeves song. And then I sang Send Me the Pillow That You Dream On, me and Bobby McGee. Then my sons, we did a third album. We did a country rock, more pop and country rock. I sang Paul Simon's Long and Winding Road on the third album with my sons. And Craig sang, my son Craig, he works with Jimmy Allen, the young guy, that's young singer, country singer, the new artist of the year. Craig works with him, but Craig sang Greg Allman's song, Multicolored Lady. Chris sang Tom Petty's song, Southern Accent. And my son Rusty sang Bob Seger's song, Hollywood Nights. So we sing a lot of, on the third album, we did more country rock and pop songs. But I did 32 songs with my sons. I had to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Television last year run me out of the house. I had to turn TV off. It was too much hate, negative stuff.
Yes.
It was just, it was painting my soul and my heart, my feeling. I had to get away from the hate being spewed on television. And that's where I started having visions to do all this stuff with my sons. Take them back to where I came from, to my musical roots and beginning. Let them journey back with me to where I came from and play their music. Chris is an incredible singer and songwriter and musician. He played drums with the Oak Ridge Boys for 18 years, but he played drums on this, sang harmony with me. Rusty played piano on all these songs and sang harmony. We've got Steve Henson to play slide guitar, dobro, and steel guitar. Then a couple of other players that joined us. And I got another young singer, Aaron McCune, who's an incredible young bass singer. He's a friend of ours, and he's singing bass with us. So we've got a lot of quartet music on this stuff I'm doing with my sons. Aaron McCune is one of the greatest bass singers living today. He's a young kid that just has an incredible talent.
Yeah.
So you're not going to believe what you hear when you hear the music that we've been making, man. It's been healing. It's been healing mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And that's what we're coming here fresh, feeling uplifted and inspired because of the music that has not only helped heal us through this pandemic, but it's helped us come out of it with a positive attitude and with treasured music that we'll treasure forever, because that's when we had the opportunity and the time to get together that we would not have had if it had not have been for a pandemic. So we can't, it's a positive thing came out of a totally negative situation that we were all forced into. It was not our choosing. We were forced into a pandemic and a negative situation that and they shut us out of our spiritual life, tried to. We had to go back and find ours, and we recorded that. So, and the same thing with the old traditional country songs. We had to go back to heal our hearts and our minds and our spirit. And we found that through music.
I want to thank William Lee Golden for spending some time with you, with me, and sharing his stories with us. Also, if you're looking for more of William's story behind the beard, go down to in our description, click on that hyperlink for William's book. There's 200 plus photos of his life he's sharing with you. Also, everybody, we will see you next week, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Talking Wax. Until then, everybody, we love you. Good night. Mwah.
Talking wax, alright. Talking wax. Talking wax.
Stop right there before you do leave us. Remember, click over here, click there, and click there. We'll see you later. Bye.